On today's show, Craig Porter Jr., what are his next steps? And did the Cavs miss out by not signing Danilo Gallinari? We'll talk about those two topics and All-Star Weekend on a new episode of Locked on Cavs.
You are Locked on Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Let's dive into today's Locked on Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. Thanks again to Jake Stevens, as always. Let's start with Craig Porter Jr. So we talked about his new contract briefly the other day, Evan. It broke mid-recording stream. So let's think about him now, big picture. He's on a 4-year deal, multiple non-guaranteed years, all of that. He's a older rookie, obviously. So where does he go? If you're looking at him and you're thinking about how does he get to a place where next year or the year after, the life of this contract, he is a rotation piece for the Cavs, someone that plays for them, someone that actually matters on this roster. How does he get there and elevate himself from being just a fringe rotation bit player this season?
At least for now, with Cleveland more or less being entrenched 1 through 7, maybe 8 most nights, 1 through 10 overall, you're probably looking at the reality that Craig Porter Jr. spent the better part of his actual NBA contract in the G League playing with the Charge under Mike Garrity just to actually get the on-court reps that he's not going to get on a nightly basis with Cleveland, especially with the playoff push coming soon after the end of the All-Star break. So for me, you get him as many on-rep and on-court opportunities as you can. He had a very good game for the Charge. I believe he had 20-something points and 6 assists in a win over Grand Rapids. Played very well. But just keep utilizing the same system and same terminology and phrasing that the Cavs do, that the Charge utilize as well. And just kind of keep training him within that unit and with that ideology and mindset. And then you keep tabs on him whenever you can. I think you can obviously have the luxury of assigning him to the Charge, but now you don't have to deal with the back and forth of a 2-way contract and how many times he can be up with the team or with the Charge and so on. And you can just kind of take temperature checks of that whenever you can if you're JP Bickerstaff and the Cavs, but just get him as many on-court reps as possible, and then you can see where he's at. Probably, I would assume he plays during Summer League, where he's at Summer League time, and then you kind of take this on I don't want to sound rude to Craig Porter Jr., but a year-by-year approach, because something better could fall into your laps between now and then. But for now, you have the baseline guarantees, you have the financials, you know what he's going to be making for the next 4 years. It's probably going to be on a year-by-year basis with him, and you just keep your finger on the pulse of his development, and maybe he becomes a guy that becomes your 9th or 10th man next season, or maybe he's not, and he's a guy who is on the outside looking into the rotation.
So I don't think it's rude year to year, because that's just the reality. That's just what life is for a lot of guys in the NBA. Most guys don't get the luxury of being on teams and having a guaranteed roster. It's just the reality when you're not a superstar. But Evan, I want to just ask specifically, you mentioned the infrastructure, all that stuff is fine and good, but what skills? What skills does Porter Jr. need to actually become to elevate himself from where he's at? Not just this is how they do it in a broader sense, but what are the skills? What are the parts of his game that need to get better in your mind for him to get to that next level?
Finding something of a reliable perimeter shot. I know that's probably the easiest answer you can give, because he does give, at least when he does play for the Cavs, quite a pulse, quite of an impact when he is on the court for Cleveland. But once opposing teams had more film on him, and once he was on the scouting report a little bit more, it became clear if you wanted to dare him to shoot, he would take the opportunity, but it's a gamble most opposing teams are willing to take. So maybe that's just the approach is if he develops his outside shot a little bit more and gets more comfortable being more of a stretchier guard, even if it's not a solid part of his game. There's historically speaking guards who don't have an outside shot that function, but just the nature of the
harder
beast
than
in the
ever.
modern NBA. It's harder than ever.
It's harder than ever. Yeah.
Like, it's just the nature of the beast in the modern NBA. Like, if you are a guard player or any position, like, if you aren't able to provide something from 3-point range, it becomes less and less, like, viable for you to be on the court. So, for me, it's developing a shot and then maybe working forward from there. And there's other small things, too, like just having a firmer understanding of how Cleveland likes to operate offensively. They obviously don't have Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, etc. at the G League level, but they try to do some similar things that the Cavs do with the Charge, and maybe there's some sameness there to kind of like build some familiarity and comfort so you have a more robust understanding of how Cleveland functions offensively. And then, at least for like Mike Garrity, who is in communication with JV Bickerstaff, like you can scheme up stuff that is a little bit more conducive to the fact, just in case Porter's shot doesn't manifest the way Cleveland hopes it does.
I think we're getting ahead. I think, to me, you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself just on, like, you don't scheme things for Craig Porter Jr. You scheme things for Donovan
Mitchell. I understand that, but, like, if you have a point guard who is a spacing liability, you put spacing around. But if you have to play him, like, in the event an injury happens or this is a designated rest night, like, you build lineups that are conducive to the point guard that you have out there, or any player, really. And, like, the Cavs have shooting options elsewhere to kind of mitigate that, but ideally, you want to him to have like a translatable outside shot.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. If he doesn't learn how to shoot at an effective clip, he's not going to have a long NBA career. Like, he's just not. It's to me, it's kind of that simple. Like, the best thing you said is he has to work on his outside shot. For this year, he's taken 21 threes in 32 games. That's less than a 3 a game. Is that just the Cavs or the Cavs and the Charge? That's just the Charge. That's just the Cavs. In 32 games, he's taken 0.7 threes a game. At the NBA level, the numbers that I think that I'm looking at B that I think kind of give us the bigger picture of like where he's actually got against NBA competition. He's taken under a 3 game. He's shooting 33% on those attempts. And I think you saw once he'd played 5-10 games in the NBA, teams started saying, Craig, hey, you brought the ball up. That's great. We're gonna give you space. We're gonna say, take that 3, my guy. We're gonna part the Red Sea for you.
Quote Stan Van Gundy. They're gonna build an expletive wall. Dare Craig Porter Jr. to charge into it. Yeah. They were saying,
you can have that room. We don't think you're gonna shoot it, and if you do, we're cool with that. That is liability number 1. And like you can count the number of. You can count on one hand the number of guards in the league right now who play real minutes, who don't have a robust outside shot, who don't have a trustworthy 3-point shot in the modern NBA. It is a must. This is part of why Porter Jr. ends up being undrafted. So to me, that's number 1. His free throw percentage would kind of, and it's 1.5 attempts a game. That's not a robust number, but we'll see kind of where that goes. That's not a great indicator as far as a jump shot for him goes at the NBA level. That's number 1. And I think number 2, I think just learning to play at times a little bit quicker. I think he is very comfortable when the game is a little slower and he's kind of like part of a team that's kind of doing one specific thing. I think learning to play at pace, make reads, pass guys open, and not just be a game manager is the next step if he wants to add a little bit more juice on that end. There's a lot of positives in terms of his defensive instincts, his defensive placement, his know-how, the toughness, I think, is all really there. But to me, it's, can you speed it up? Can you make reads at a faster clip and unlock looks for other guys and take 3-point shooting? Those are he is someone that needs to fit a system. He does not get the system,
of course,
built for him.
Of course. And I'm going to pass this back to you real quick because it is a question that has come up in my head as we've had this discussion. He's an older rookie. How much juice is left to squeeze out of Craig Porter Jr. in terms of his development, more than the fact that he may be a very finished product because he is a 25-year-old rookie playing in the NBA currently?
I don't personally look at... I've come to a point where I am more bullish than bearish than I on older rookies versus not. We've seen successes in recent years of older rookies having success.
23, my bad.
Well, whatever. He's like, by NBA standards, that's like an old rookie. But I kind of think we're at a point now where like there is some value in guys. It's not like you drafted him and he's like an NBA version of Brandon Whedon and is 27 when he gets to the NBA. He is 23 and he's actually had time to develop. Now, are there the reason I think teams have gone after younger guys in recent years and why like older rookies got a bad rap for a long time is because they come in molded. There is just molding that for him happened at Wichita State that if you got him at 19, you would have got to mold him more directly. But he comes in a little bit more finished. I just think to give the Cavs credit on one thing about this, I think one thing specifically, and among other things, they have had success with older rookies at least becoming serviceable-ish NBA players. Say what you want about Lamar Stevens, he at least like gave you some solid enough minutes and is like was competent in certain ways. Dean Wade was an older rookie who came in and they developed, and now he's a key part of this team when he's healthy. Sam Merrill
Khan was an older rookie.
That doesn't count. He didn't do anything. Sam Merrill comes
during that finals run on the sideline in the so
don't think he looked stretched. I think he looked weird. Sam Merrill comes in, not a rookie, but is someone that you got that you kind of had to like rehabilitate a little bit. Like they've had success with older guys.
Yeah, they have.
So I think it's fine. It's like, is it perfect? No, but are you getting someone from 23 to 27 and like there's room to grow there and you can make improvements and maybe you do give him some G League time just to like take threes? I think that's fine. All right, after this, Danilo Gallinari, to switch to the full other spectrum of the roster. He signed with the Bucks. He's going to sign with the Bucks. The Cavs were reportedly had talked to him in some capacity. Did they miss out on not getting Gallo? I'm going to say no, and we'll talk about that after this. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. eBay Motors has teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh just picked out for us on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. He has two names on here that I liked. He has Marvin Bagley III. Bagley, he writes, is Washington's likely starting center after the Daniel Gafford trade and is worth grabbing for fantasy leagues. Josh did spell, he is Australian, but he spelled center C-E-N-T-R-E. That's wrong. That offends me personally. And Oscar Thompson, the Pistons also overhauled their roster, he writes, and we can only hope that Monty Williams will bump Asar back into a large role. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. I do this with my Ford Bronco, for instance. They have brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, and whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, and exclusions do apply. Danilo Gallinari, 35 years old, 6'10 forward, most recently with the Detroit Pistons, waived last week, is going to the Bucks per The Athletic. Cavs among the Clippers and the Bulls, and obviously the Bucks were the teams in the report mentioned as having talked to Gallinari's agent about a deal. So, Evan, are the Cavs missing anything by being the team that didn't get Danilo Gallinari?
I mean, no, in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure like people may point to when Gallo went off against Cleveland when the last time the Cavs hosted the Pistons, but Danilo Gallinari is in the twilight of his career. He's a player that I've always been a fan of, especially like he stood out to me leading up to the Carmelo trade, to age it a little bit, to when he went from the Knicks to the Nuggets and Melo went to New York. But it's pretty clear like Cleveland is locked in 1 through 10. And if Gallo believes that he has gas in the tank and the ability to play going forward, like that this is not a role for him. Maybe like the Cavs being a little bit more explicitly clear is a good thing, because allegedly Danny Green was a little frustrated with the uncertainty around his role, so this is probably good for them long term. But
I think we can just say that's not alleged. He just kind of said it. Like, he himself said that, so I don't think that's alleged.
Either way, no, I don't think the Cavs missed out on much. I think like he has the ability to play like small ball 5 if you really needed him to, but I think the Cavs are in dire straits if they're playing Gallo at the 5. That means like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are just not available whatsoever, and like Damian Jones really is unplayable. So if you're looking at it from like upgrading on Dean Wade and George Niang, 2 guys that, one, either have like a full familiarity with this group as in Dean Wade, or a guy who's much more comfortable as in George Niang. Like, I think you'd rather just roll with those guys, because I don't see Gallo beating them out of the rotation, because he's a dude who's had a lot of injury issues over the last few years, and as I said, is in the twilight of his career and has way less miles on those tires compared to like Dean Wade or George Niang. Like, those are the 2 dudes he would be like fighting for minutes with in this rotation if he happened to sign with Cleveland, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't think he would play. I think that's just flat out, you just go down the roster. Okay, he's a 4. He's a 6'10" 4. He's not gonna. I think him at the 5 is like nightmare fuel.
The only reason I mention that is because the Pistons played him at the 5 last time Cleveland hosted Detroit, because they were down enough bodies and James Wiseman was not available, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing anything the Pistons are doing this year, if I'm being honest.
I agree. Like I said, they have to be in dire straits if they're playing Gallo at the 5 if you're the Cavs. Like, the Pistons, you're throwing everything at the wall and you're hoping you're sticking something. The Cavs,
we're taking the Cavs up behind the woodshed. We're putting them up behind the woodshed, and if that's the case. So okay, you go down the list. He's a 4. He's obviously not taking Evan Mobley's place in the starting lineup. 0 chance. Okay, go to Dean Wade.
That'd be spicy, but
that'd be insane. That'd be a crime. Go to Dean Wade. Is Gallinari like a more proven shooter? Yeah. But does he do anything better than Dean Wade right now? No, Dean Wade can play both ends of the floor. Gallinari is not a good defender. I don't think Gallo is going to hold up defensively in the playoffs. And then you go to George Niang. George Niang is like the more 1-to-1 comp for me, because like Niang is a very offensive heavy guy, but Niang, like, for as much as he drives people crazy sometimes, can at least sometimes bully his way to the rim. Does Gallo have that juice in him fully at this point? I don't know. And Niang at least is a little bulkier on defense. Like, I trust him just a little bit more because he's younger and a little thicker. Gallo would be there for depth and for the fact that you could sign him and just like have another body, but he wouldn't play. I think that's exactly right.
No, he wouldn't play. And even like with Milwaukee, it's a situation where he can play for Doc Rivers again. I think that's what Shams Charania noted. But even come playoff time, like, the defensive issues are such a huge concern. Like, teams could pick Gallo apart. Even if like if the Bucks put him at the 5, like, oh my goodness, the teams that are playing Milwaukee in the playoffs, if Gallo's on the floor at that spot, like, have to be licking their chops. Like, he's going to be phased out of the rotation for Bobby Portis and Giannis at that point. But it gives Milwaukee a little bit more depth, because they are very top heavy and kind of figuring out like what they have, especially with like the weird experiment that has been the Doc Rivers experience. But from the Cleveland side of things, you don't want to mess up a good thing. And if this is a guy who thinks he wants to play or can play, the juice may not be worth the squeeze, and you don't want to waste a guy's time when you'd rather just, look at your other options.
The Gallinari signing to me would be more of something that fits the second era LeBron Cavs, who were just all in on maximizing every year and just like signed older veterans because they kind of needed to and could have specialists, versus this Cavs team that doesn't have room for an older specialist.
You would have the same impact as either Andrew Bogut or Darren Williams, where like there's a flash in the pan and then it's just extremely frustrating every step of the way after that.
Yeah, those are good comps. He would not give the Cavs much. Does it tell you anything, Evan, before we wrap this up, that they were interested in someone on the buyout market? The fact that they are at 14 guys right now, does there anything of interest to you that they were / could still be sniffing around the buyout market to maybe fill that 15th roster spot?
Well, from what I've gathered, they've had interest in Gallo for at least a minute. Like, no one was sure what Detroit was going to do, because are they going to lean into competing, or are they going to finally like embrace the fact that they're a bad team and need to kind of let the youngins play? And the latter came out, but it would have made sense for the Cavs to acquire him via trade if like Dean Wade was the casualty to get Royce O'Neal, and you needed to just add position with like George Niang really taking over as the backup forward, and like Royce soaking up some minutes there too. But once Royce went to Phoenix, it made another trade for him, and it makes sense now. Like, you have two dudes like we just talked about, Dean Wade and George Niang, like two guys that are clearly preferential to what the Cavs are trying to do at the power forward, even small forward spot, depending on the lineups too, compared to what Gallo can give you right now. So yeah, I'm not overly surprised, and I think like Cleveland does present an interesting case where they are a young up and coming team, and they could give a vet like an opportunity to maybe play for some meaningful basketball late into the season. But as I've said several times, like there's no promise that that player would like touch the floor for Cleveland either. Like, he would just be a vibes guy.
Yeah, curious to see if they do go and get one of the other names out there. I don't think they really need to. It would absolutely just be a depth available piece. I'll take a lot of money. I already did my sellout thing this year. I'll do it again. After this, All-Star Weekend. What are we looking forward to? What do we like about it? What do we not like about All-Star Weekend? That's up next. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Do you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most free retirement thanks to their IRA with that 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of their first 3 deposit match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis begins Friday. The Cavs representatives there will be Donovan Mitchell in the three-point contest in the All-Star game. And then Amani Bates on a two-way deal will be there playing in the G League Next Up game on Sunday and in the Rising Stars Challenge on Friday. Evan, what are you looking forward to for All-Star Weekend? What is like the one thing that if you're going to watch any of it, if you're going to make sure you see something, what is the event, the thing? Like, what about All-Star Weekend are you looking forward to?
I mean, broad stroke, how the NBA walked back the alum format is always going to be fascinating to me, because that you and I are sitting next to each other during All-Star in Cleveland. Like, it made the game like actually engaging and fun. But maybe it's a bit of a cop out, but I am getting more and more Jones to the idea of Amani Bates and the G League Igniters and the guys from other G League teams going up against like Victor Wembanyama and other top picks. Like, there's something fun in that. Like, these guys who went undrafted and they're trying to like prove they belong with an NBA team. In this case, Bates with the Cavs long term on his 2-way deal, or any of the other fellows as well. But like, they're going up against Wembanyama. Like that's marquee. That's big time for me. I'm also biased because I'm a Wemby guy to begin with. But
wow, you think Wemby's good?
I know, it's a hot take. It's like, it's hotter than the bars I was dropping when you kept saying IRA and a song got stuck in my head. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Rising Stars. It's always fun just because like, I think that format, like they made it exciting after it like turned into a bit of like an all-star shootout type of thing, where like the mini tournament format does make it fun. And I don't know. Like, we can also get a pretty good temperature check on where Bates is at developmental wise, because he's not just playing G League dudes. Like, no disrespect to G League guys, but there is like an air of difference when you're playing rookies and sophomores that are playing on the NBA on a nightly basis compared to guys that maybe you're seeing down when you're with the Charge. And for you and I covering the show, at least gives us perspective on like where Bates is at developmentally and like where does he need to improve besides maybe some of the obvious things we already know he needs to improve.
I'm going to be honest. I don't take a single thing on All-Star Weekend seriously as far as development goes. Doesn't mean it.
If I see something, I'm like, oh, that's neat. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
it can be cool.
More like point stuff or things like that, you know?
These things are just like for fun and for energy where like, yes, it can get competitive, but this is just like
before Adam Silver course corrected too hard.
This is just for like lol. So I'm just gonna like you just want no one gets hurt. The people go have a good time. Everyone gets along, and we go. There's two things that I'm looking forward to. Number one, so All-Star Saturday night. Is at the Lucas Oil Stadium where the Colts play.
Cool.
That's kind of cool. I just want to see what that looks like in a football stadium. That's kind of cool to me. I just want to know how like that's a lot of people. For like what could be like a mid dunk contest, like I don't like that. There's just like something. There's maybe something wrong with me. I think there certainly is, but I want to watch like how weird that is in that type of environment because it's just blown out to proportions. Picking Mac McClung to win the dunk contest too. I just like the dunk contest might be dead, but if Jaylen Brown wins it, and then it's back because that's like a star-ish player that's won it. But I'm also just like how. Yeah, and then how Donovan Mitchell does this weekend is just the other thing. Like, not in terms of, like, that it matters, but he's the only Cavs representative that anyone... Like, all respect to Emoni Bates, and it's really cool that he gets to participate in two things. The only Cavs person people are really going to care about in a big way come Monday and how he performed is Mitchell. He's the representative of the team in Indianapolis for all intents and purposes. Jared Allen's not there. Darius Garland's not there. Evan Mobley's not there. Does he have a big show in the All-Star game? Does he win the three-point contest? How many times does he get asked about his future and gets annoyed about it? He's just like the guy on the stage for Cleveland in this environment. I want to see what he says. I want to see how he performs and if he feels like a big star in this space.
Well, I have to ask you something real quick. Did you watch the NCAA men's basketball Final Four in 2010, 2015, or 2021?
Bro, I don't remember what I ate for lunch today. Like, I don't remember. Probably.
I don't believe that.
I do remember what I ate for lunch today, but like I don't remember. I'm sure I watched them.
What I knew. I'm just teasing. Okay, so like, yeah, that's basketball at Lucas Oil, but also just like a beautiful stadium.
But it's different because it's like the dunk contest. Like, are we gonna get like honestly, if I could bet on it on FanDuel, Pat McAfee is getting involved in the dunk contest.
Unfortunately.
I'm pro. I'm pro Pat McAfee. He makes me giggle.
I don't like Pat McAfee, so changing the subject. Yeah, the representation thing will be interesting. Like, does Mitchell maybe really get into his bag? Like, how much does he play? That's the other thing too. Like, how does I guess Doc Rivers and not his staff, because I don't know what the Bucks coaching staff situation is for the All-Star game. I haven't really checked up on it. How do they manage minutes? Like, you would imagine Giannis hardly plays, if at all, in this game, just because you want to rest him as much as you can, let him have a few dunks or whatever. But I don't know. The All-Star game is always fun just because you're watching the best of the best, even if it's a glorified shootout. I think the over-under right now is on 160 for the combined total score. What are you taking on that? Or no, not 160. Not 160.
260?
It's 260, I think.
Over all the time. Give you some odds.
Especially after they got rid of the Elam format. Like, there's not like a set score in mind, or maybe teams actually like trying come fourth quarter time, because there is like some stakes to it. But I don't know. Well, we'll see how it goes. I am curious. I'm still curious why Adam Silver felt the need to like course correct as much as he did after making so many sweeping changes to the All-Star format. But you know what, c'est la vie. We'll see. Maybe there's another event that needs a shot in the arm. Like, the skills competition was fun as heck, because I think the year in Cleveland is the first year they tried the new format. And I'm like, wow, this is actually like entertaining. So instead of just watching guys like awkwardly pass into like a pitching net the whole time, I don't know. All-Star it's fun. It's also nice for you and I because we can kind of recharge our batteries a little bit and get ready for the grind that is the remainder of the season.
All-Star, the only odds we see right now, also looking forward to the Sabrini Ionescu Steph Curry shootout. That's going to be fun. 3-point contest odds from FanDuel. Damian Lillard is the favorite. He won last year. He's at plus 390. Halliburton plus 450. Trae Young plus 550. Malik Beasley plus 650. Karl Anthony Towns plus 700. Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson are both plus 750. And Lauri Markkanen is plus 800. You can check out all their All-Star Weekend odds and games and everything at FanDuel. The East is a 3-point underdog. Over-under set at 363.5. Money line 1 plus 126 for the East, minus 148 for the West.
I'm taking the under on that one. I think 363 plus that might be a little too hard to accomplish. And
Give me 800. Give me 400 points. That's all. If I'm going to be up until 11 o'clock watching a game that does not mean anything and give anyone anything of value, because I need to write a blog about Donovan Mitchell.
There you go.
Because I have to write a blog, and then we'll have to talk about it ostensibly come Monday when we record on our and talk about All-Star Weekend and just know what Mitchell did and how he looked. And I'm a professional. I show up for my job and I clock in. Actually, I blue collar. Give me the over. Give me 400 points. Give me both teams just on fire. I don't want any defense. No defense.
Well, I hope they're not on fire. And also, congrats to you for rolling up your sleeves one sleeve at a time because you're blue collar. But
that's right. Let's end there, though.
End there. Yeah. See you guys Monday.
I'm Chris Manning. That's been Evan Dammarell. Thanks again to Jake Stevens, as always. Enjoy All-Star Weekend. Enjoy the 3-day weekend if you're so lucky to have off on a Monday. We'll talk to you then and get you ready for the second half of the NBA season. Enjoy the weekend.